Welcome to Battle Companies Season 1, Episode 9. In this episode, Durins Folk will be fighting against the Dead of Dunharrow and Moria will meet the Warg Riders. The Warg aftermath for all battle companies will be shown at the end of this video. The updates to the warbands from last time can be seen from 48 minutes into the previous video. Now, I will go over today's scenario and then the battles will begin. Enjoy! This is the scoreboard from the last round.
Today's scenario will be Rescue. Both players will roll a d6 with the player who scored the lowest will be the defender. The defender selects one hero from their battle company that they must rescue and place them in the center of the board along with up to 2 warrior models from their battle company that are deployed within 3 inches of the hero. The other player will be the attacker and they place their entire battle company within 15 inches of any board edge. The defending player must try to save their hero whilst fending off the attackers. The attackers must try to slay their target before they suffer enough casualties to force them to retreat. The game ends when either the target hero is slain or the attacker's battle company is reduced to less than 50% of their starting numbers. If the defender's hero has been slain, the attacker will win, and if the attacker's battle company has been reduced to less than 50% of their starting models, the defender will win. If this happens in the same turn, the game is a draw. The attacker will always have priority in the first turn. The defender's battle company will move on to the board from the opposite board edge than the attackers. And if the target hero should survive, they will gain an additional experience points.
This is the board they are playing on, and the first battle will be between the Dead of Dunharrow and Durins Folk, with the Dead of Dunharrow being the defenders.
Caspar and his 2 friends were out spelunking, but they came across some dwarves that are going to try to kill Caspar, so the Dead of Dunharrow will have to try to rescue them. Before the dwarves can deploy, Guff and Gando has to roll for their old battle wounds. Gando goes first and he gets a 2, so he's fine, and Guff gets a 5, so both will be joining the battle. The dwarves have deployed, and worthy of note, there are 3 archers in the front to be able to shoot at Caspar the first turn. I would also like to mention that the armies are of equal points value, so no rerolls and no extra influence points. The dwarves have priority the first turn and will begin their move. In the first turn, the dwarves moved as fast as they could towards the center of the table. The bowman only moved half move to be able to shoot. The Dead of Dunharrow moved on from this table edge, and Caspar and his friends moved back to get support. In the shooting phase, the dwarf warriors with bow will try to shoot at Caspar. Starting with true bow, he has 2 shots and he gets 1 hit. He needs to roll in the way rolls for the first warrior of the dead, needing a 4-up. And he gets it. Turbo will need a 6 to wound Caspar, and he gets a 1. Drudar will shoot next, and he will try to hit Caspar, needing a 4-up. He misses. And the last dwarf archer also tried to hit Caspar, needing a 5-up. That is crooked, or cocked as you say, and he misses. The dwarves got priority and moved up their entire force. Even the archers moved full to be able to close the distance. They move 1 inch shorter than the army of the dead, so they need all the movement they can get. Caspar and his friends continued to move backwards to link up with their friends, which moved forward to link up, so now they're gathered in the middle. And the Rider of the Dead moved up to the side to try to flank the dwarves. There is no shooting, so straight to the next round. The Dead of Dunharrow got priority and moved closer. They moved so that they are outside of 5 inches from the dwarves, but inside 6, so they can charge next turn. The Rider of the Dead continued its flanking move. The dwarves adjusted their battle lines to be able to charge within 5 inches next turn. The archers of the dwarves stood still and will try to shoot at the Rider of the Dead. Trubo will start the shooting at the Rider of the Dead, and he needs 4s to hit. And he gets 1 hit. In the way roll, because of the rock, needs 5 up. Oh. Next, Drudar will take a shot at the Rider, needing a 4 to hit. He misses. And the last dwarf gets a 5, so he hits. There is no in the way roll for him, so is it the horse or the Rider? Hits the Rider. And he needs 6s by 4s to wound. Nothing. The army of the dead got priority, and the Rider continued the move back towards the rear lines of the dwarves. Over here, combat's all around, with the army of the dead charging into almost every dwarven model, and Archer is the last one to move. He is going to cast Transfix on Kaza, needing 3s to get it off, and he got a 5, so Kaza is transfixed and Archer moves into combat with him. In the dwarven movement phase, this dwarf moved around into combat with this army of the dead guy, and the dwarven archers adjusted their position to be able to shoot at the Rider. Starting with Trubo, he has to roll in the way, of course, but first he needs to hit. His 2 shots needing 4s to hit, or 5s because he moved, and he gets 1 hit. In the way of a 5+, and he gets it. Horse or Rider hits the Rider. He needs 6s by 4s to wound, and he gets a 3. The regular dwarf will shoot at the Rider, needing 5s to hit, and he misses. Drudar is the last one to shoot, and he needs 4s. And he gets it. He does not need an in the way roll, but he needs 6s by 4s. Nothing. Starting with the combats, Kaza is transfixed and he will be shielding, and he gets a 5. And Archer gets a 4. Will not use might, so he is just pushed back. In the next fight, Galad is fighting a dwarf with a 2-handed weapon, which will use his 2-handed weapon, and Galad sets the bar at a 2, and the dwarf gets a 5. Galad will use his banner to reroll his roll, and he gets a 4. And that means that it is a tie, because the 2-handed weapon will have to subtract 1, so he's down to 4 as well. But the dwarf has higher fight, so Galad will use 1 point of might to win the fight. Galad is upgraded to a strength of 4, so against the courage of 4 of the dwarf, he needs 4s to kill. And he gets it, and this is a regular dwarf, so he's just dead. In this next fight, an Iron Shield, or a Vault Warden team rather, are fighting a army of the dead guy. And the Vault Warden team sets the bar at a 6, which means they automatically win because of their fight value. 6s to kill. 2 6s. He is dead. In this next fight, Midsu is fighting a dead guy, and Midsu sets the bar with his 2-handed weapon and gets a 4, and the dead guy gets a 5, needing 5s to kill the dwarf, and he gets it. Midsu needs to roll his fate. Can he save? He do! He does! In the next fight, Gando and Guff are up against a dead one, and Gando and Guff sets the bar at a 6 from Guff. Nothing the dead guy can do about that, so he loses the fight. Dwarves need 6s to kill. Not double ones, 1-1 and 1-3. Caspar, the hero that needs to be saved, are fighting an Iron Shield. And Caspar sets the bar at a 2, and the Iron Shield gets a -1 because of his shield and loses the fight. And Caspar has upgraded his strength to 4, so he will need 4s to kill the shield. And he gets it. The Iron Shield is dead. The next fight is a foe spear against a regular dude, and the foe spear sets the bar at a 3, and the dead one gets a 2. 6s to kill? No. The last combat is an Iron Guard and a Cassette Guard against a dead one, and the Iron Guard only has 1 attack because of his arm wound. The dwarf sets the bar at 2. And the dead one gets 5, easily winning the combats. It will strike against the casted guard and it needs 5 to kill him, and doesn't get it. The dwarves got priority and some of them made their courage test. Over here a couple of dwarves did not make their courage test and was frozen still. The army of the dead used this opportunity to get some favorable combats, and the rider of the dead moved into the stone formations to be able to charge next turn. On to the shooting phase. Trubo will shoot at the rider of the dead, needing 4 to hit. And he gets 1 hit. Because of his lethal aim, he can use 1 free might every turn when he shoots. And he will use that on this one to get that onto a 4. So he scores 2 hits. Horse or rider, both hit the horse. The horse has a defense of 6, so he will need 6s to kill the horse. And he gets 1 6, the horse is dead. So we will change his model into a regular warrior with shield and hand weapon. Throne rider, he is good. Drudar will now shoot at a dismounted warrior of the dead. He needs 4s to hit, and he misses. Last dwarf will also shoot, and he misses also. On to the combat phase. Starting over here, the foe spear is fighting 3 warriors of the dead, including Caspar. And he sets the bar at a 2. And the dead ones gets 6. Caspar needs 4s to kill, and the other dead ones needs 5. So let's see what happens. And he is dead. In this next fight, Gando is fighting 2 dead ones, and Gando sets the bar a 3. And the dead ones a 4. They need 5s to wound Gando. Nothing. Foe spear and iron shield against Galad, and the dwarf sets the bar at a 6. That means they automatically win the fight. They have a strength of 4 against Galad's defense of 8, so they need 6s to wound him. And they get 1 6. Fate roll. Fail! Galad has no might to be able to do something about that 1, so he is dead. In the last fight, Kasa is fighting normally, and he sets the bar at a 5. And the army of the dead Archer also 5, but he loses on fight value. Archer will use his point of might to force Kasa to use one of his own, but the dwarfs still win. Kasa will need 6s to wound Archer, and he gets a 5, so he will use his last might point to turn that into a 6, forcing Archer to take a fate roll, and he does not save, he is dead. The army of the dead got priority and shifted around to make their fights favorable. Caspar got into combat over here where there are already 2 dead ones fighting, and the late rider of the dead, which is now a regular warrior, charged into these 2 dwarves. Only one of the dwarves failed their courage test, and some other ones made their position a little bit different so they could be able to charge another turn. This dwarf Drudar went into combat with this one. Let's start over here. The Iron Guard will set the bar with his 1 attack at a 5. Caspar and the other dead ones try to beat him, and they don't. The Iron Guard will strike at Caspar. Can he kill him and win with the game for the dwarves? He needs a 6, and it's a 3. So, no. Gando against a dead one. Gando sets the bar 2, and he responds with a 2, losing the fight on fight value. Gando needs 6s to kill, and he gets a 4. The Vault Warden team and Midzu are fighting a warrior of the dead with spear and shield, and the dwarves get 6, which means they win the fight automatically. Midzu will need 5s by 3s to kill the dead one, and the Vault Warden team will need 6s. Let's see if they can do it. No. In the last fight, the dead one sets the bar at a 5. Trubo and his dwarves try to respond and gets a 4. Trubo will might this up to a 5, winning the fight. They need 6s by 4s to kill. Can they do it? 2 6s! Can they get a 4? They do! He is dead. The army of the dead got priority and tried to hold off the dwarven force from Caspar. In the dwarf's movement phase, the Khazad guard moved closer to be able to engage Caspar next turn, and the dwarven archers moved up to support their comrades. In the fight phase, Kaza is fighting a dead one, and Kaza sets the bar at a 2, and the Dead of Dunharrow gets a 4. Needing 5s to kill Caspar? No. I of course meant Kaza, not Caspar. In the next fight, the Vault Warden team sets the bar at a 6, winning the fight automatically. 6 is to kill? No. Midzu is fighting a dead one, and he gets 2, and the dead one gets 6. 5s to kill? No. Gando and Guff against the dead one, and they get double 1s, and the dead one 5, easily winning the fight. Striking at Gando, he needs a 5 up, and he gets a 6. Fate roll? No, he loses a wound, but he has 1 wound left. In the last fight, Caspar sets the bar, and he gets a 2. Can the Iron Guard win this one? He does. 6 is to wound? No. The dwarves got priority and showed some incredible courage. Everyone made their courage check and got into combat with every one of the dead ones. In the fight phase, the 3 archers are fighting a dead one, and the dwarf sets the bar at 3, and the dead guy gets a 2, losing the fight. To wound him, they need 6s by 4s, and they get nothing. In the next fight, Kaza and the Vault Warden team is fighting a dead one, and the dead one sets the bar at a 4, and the dwarves get a 5. 6s by 4s on Kaza, and 6s on the Vault Warden team. Can they do it? The Vault Warden team kills him. He is dead. In the next fight, Midzu is fighting a dead one, and Midzu sets the bar at a 3, and the dead guy gets 6. 5s to kill? No. In the next fight, Goff and Gando sets the bar at a 4, and the dead guy gets a 3. 6s to kill? And they get a 6, and this is not a hero, so he is dead. In the last fight, Caspar sets the bar at 4. The Khazad guard gets a 6, winning the fight. The Khazad guard needs a 5 to wound, and the Iron Guard needs a 6. The green die is the Khazad guard. And they get a wound. But Caspar has only 1 wound, but 2 fates, and he will use 1 fate point. And he saves. The army of the dead got priority, and Caspar moved away from the main forces of the dwarves. And one of them was hanging back to hold off 2 of the enemy heroes. And the last one was in kind of a peril. He had to choose one of them and chose to charge Kaza. The Iron Guard moved into combat with Caspar, and the Vault Warden team is closing in. Over here, Drudar went into combat with this one, but Midzu froze in his steps and could not do anything. Over here, one warrior of the dead is trapped. The trapped warrior will be shielding, and he sets the bar at a 6. Kaza and the other dwarves are trying to beat a 6, and they get a 5. Kaza has 1 might left and will use that to make that into a 6, winning the fight. The dwarves will need 6s by 4s, but they have 6 attacks. Let's see what they get. And they get 1 6. Can they get a 4? They do! And the warrior of the dead is double dead. In the next fight, the dead guy sets the bar at a 5. Respectable. Gando is the only one with might left, so he is the green die. Let's see if they can beat it. And they cannot, but Gando will use his might to turn that into a 5, winning the combat. I believe that the army of the dead guy is not trapped, so only 3 attacks. But they need 6s. Let's see. Nothing. In the last fight, Caspar sets the bar, and he gets a 1. And the dwarves don't even need to roll. They win the fight. 6s to kill. Is this it? Is this the battle? No! The dwarves got priority and surrounded the 2 remaining dead guys. Let's move into the fight phase. Let's start with the least important fight, and the dead guy gets 2. Gando 2 and wins on fight value. No might left, so let's see. 6s is a kill. And 1-6 barely kills him. Now, this last fight, Caspar should be shielding, but as his odds will not improve, with doing that he will strike normally. And he sets the bar at a 5, which is really good. Vault Warden team, also 5, so they win on fight value. Starting with Kaza, he needs 6s by 4s, and he gets nothing. The Iron Guard needs 6s, and he doesn't get it. The Khazad Guard needs 5s on his 2 attacks, and he gets nothing. Can Caspar survive? Now it looks like it's down to this, needing 6s for the Vault Warden team. No! Caspar survives! Caspar got priority and moved around to get behind the Iron Guard. The dwarves continued to surround Caspar, but the Iron Shield was a little bit afraid, so it stood behind. The rest of the warriors moved up to surround him. And Caspar sets the bar 6! And the dwarves get also 6, so they win the fight. Starting with Kaza, he needs 6s by 4s, nothing. And the Iron Guard needs 6s, nothing. And the foe spear needs 6s, nothing. And the Khazad Guard needs 5s. He gets him. So Kaza takes a wound, but he has 1 fate point left, and he will use that, and he saves. The dwarves got priority, and this is not looking good for Caspar. He is surrounded with 1 wound and no fate. He sets the bar at a 5, and the dwarves get 4. They lose the fight. Caspar will hit the Khazad Guard, and he will need 4s to kill him because of his strength of 4. No, that was his chance, I fear. Once again, Caspar is trapped between 4 dwarves. He sets the bar. He gets a 5, and the dwarves gets a 3, and they lose again. Caspar will strike at the foe spear, and he needs 4s, and he gets it. The foe spear is dead. Okay, so the most incredible thing happened. All the dwarves except for Midsu failed their courage test. So Caspar is now only fighting 1 dwarf. And Caspar gets a 1. Oh no, the dwarf gets a 1. But he wins on fight value. He fights with a 2-handed weapon, but he is burly, so he don't get a -1 and wins the fight. He will need 5s by 3s to kill him, and he gets a 6. Can he get a 3+? Is this it? Yes! Midsu is the man of the match. He kills Caspar, and Durins Folk win the scenario. The next battle will be between the Warg Riders and the Moria Goblins. The Warg Riders have 32 points more than the Moria Goblins, so Moria will get 2 rerolls and 2 extra influence points. Moria will be the defenders in this scenario, and Gosh has taken the troll for a stroll. He finds himself in the middle of the board, soon to be attacked by the Warg Riders. The Warg Riders have deployed their 4 archers over on this flank, and 4 with shield in the middle alongside 2 wargs. They are going to charge first turn, maybe, or they are. And we have 4 Warg Riders with throwing spears over on this side. Priority went to the Warg Riders because that is what the rule says. And this one tried to charge into the troll but failed his courage test. This one made it though, and Snugge got into combat with Gosh. The other wargs tried to come around and flank the throwing spears onto the side over here and the archers over here. The goblins moved in from their table edge, only a measly 5 inches. They are probably going up against it here because of the movement speed of the Warg Riders. But they have a cave troll, so we'll see how this turns out. In the first fight, we have the cave troll against the Warg Rider with shield, and the cave troll sets the bar at a 6 and wins automatically. The The troll with a strength of 6 against a defense of 5 on the rider will need 4s to wound, but 3s because of his two-handed weapon. So he will use his first attack to hit the rider. On the 3 he's dead. No, another one. Yes, the rider is dead. And the last attack on the warg will need 2s. And the warg is also dead. So he's gone. In the next fight, Snugug sets the bar at a 2. And Gosh gets a 1. But he can reroll because of his Blade Master. And he will do that. And he gets a 1. And the Black Shield, can he save the day? He gets a 2. Now, Gosh is in a pinch. And his friend is also knocked prone. And Snugug needs 5s to wound, and he will make all his strikes at Gosh. And he gets 1/6, and that is 1 wound. Can Gosh save it with a fate roll? He can! The Warg Riders got priority, but Gosh is using his point of might to call a heroic move. This, in turn, is countered by Snugug's point of might. On the 4 to 6, it goes to the Wargs. And it goes to the Moria Goblins. Since Gosh could use his heroic move, he moved further back to be safe from the oncoming onslaught. He sent his troll in combat with Snugug, and the Black Shield went on to contain the Dwarven assault from the right side. And now the Warg Riders did the rest of their movements. The archers moved further up to flank on this side, and the throwing spears came from the other side. This warg went into combat with the Black Shield, and this warg tried to catch up with Gosh. This warg rider went into combat with the troll, so there's 2 against 1 over there. The rest of the Moria force moved at full speed towards the center of the board. In the combat phase, the Black Shield over here will be shielding against his 2 opponents, and he sets the bar at a 5. Drozorg and the warg answers with a 6, needing 5s to kill, and they get a 6, so this Black Shield is dead. In the next fight, the troll sets the bar at a 4, and the Warg Riders get also 4, but they lose on fight value. The troll will target Snugug first, and he will need 3s to wound him, and he gets a 1. The next attack is a 3, so that's a wound on Snugug. Fate roll. He failed. And the warg, will it stay on the board? It will. The last attack on the Warg Rider on the left. And nothing. The Moria Goblins got priority and moved up to the left to face the Warg Riders with bow. Gosh went into combat with this warg. The troll stood still, not charging anyone, to provide some control for Gosh to prevent him from being charged. Only one of the Warg Riders were tough enough to get into combat with the troll. The other ones failed their courage checks. Over here, the Warg Riders with bow charged into the Moria lines, and from behind comes the Warg Riders with throwing spear. They didn't have enough range to get into combat, but they will throw their spears now. They will throw their spears, prioritizing the closest model, and they need 6s to hit. And they get 3 6s, needing 5s to wound, and nothing. In the combat phase, the troll is fighting a Warg Rider, and the troll sets the bar at a 5. And the Warg Rider gets also 5, but loses on fight value. The troll will try to wound the rider first, and he needs 3s. And he gets 1/3, so the Warg Rider is dead. And the next attack on the warg, needing 2s, and he is also dead. So he is gone. Gosh is fighting a warg, and he sets the bar at 4. And the warg gets a 6, winning the fight. Needing 5s to kill. No. Now, all of these fights, we will start with the one on the left. The Goblin sets the bar at a 4, and the Warg Rider gets 2, needing 5s to kill the rider. No. In the next fight, a Goblin is fighting Arsets, and the Goblin sets the bar at a 2, and Arset charging in gets 6, winning the fight. Goblin is knocked prone, and the Warg Rider needs 4s to kill. Easy. 2 goblins against a Warg Rider, and the Warg Rider gets double 1s, and the goblins get a 1, and this one is cocked, so we will take that again, and a 4, winning the fight. Needing 5s to kill the rider, and they get a 6, so the rider is dead. The warg will test courage, and it passes. And the last fight, Sork against the warg rider. Sork gets double 6s, and the warg rider gets 3s, losing the fight. Needing 5s to kill the rider. And he gets 1 5. The rider is dead. Will the warg flee the battlefield? It will not. The warg riders get priority, but Rark is using a point of might to call a heroic move. This in turn is countered by Arset calling his heroic move. 4 to 6, it goes to the wargs. It goes to the goblins. Rark's heroic move was quite necessary, and the goblins managed to tie up every warg and warg rider in this side of the field. In the rest of the warg movements, 1 of them charged into the troll and 3 of them charged into Gosh. They couldn't quite trap him though, but this is looking bad for him. Starting with this fight, a Prowler threw a throwing dagger on the way in, needing 5s to hit, and he misses. And it's the fight now, and he gets 1, and the warg rider gets a 6. The warg rider did not charge, so he has only 1 attack, but he needs only 4s to kill Sandry the Prowler, and he doesn't get it. In the next fight, the goblin sets the bar at a 6, and the warg rider gets a 2. And the goblin will try to wound Arset, he needs a 5. No. This goblin fighting 2 wargs sets the bar at a 5, and the 2 wargs get 3 and 2, losing the fight. 5 or 6, he kills the warg. And he kills 1! Yoink! This spearman against the warg rider, and the spearman gets 5, and the warg rider gets a 1! 5 up to kill the rider. No. Rark is next against the warg rider, and Rark gets a 4, and the rider gets a 1. Going for the rider, needing 5s. And he gets a 1. The goblin fighting Asgard, and the goblin sets the bar at a 2, and Asgard gets a 1. 5s to kill? No. Sork has 2 attacks and will fight the warg rider with throwing spear, and he gets a 4, and the warg rider gets a 1. First attack goes for the rider, and he needs a 5. And he gets 1, and the next attack goes on the warg, needing a 5, and he gets that one as well, so he is dead. The troll against the warg. The troll sets the bar at a 5. The warg gets a 4. Troll needing 2s to kill the warg, and he gets 2 of them, so the warg is dead. And the last but most important fights, Gosh will be shielding, and he gets a 6. Drozor gets a 2. Can the wargs save him? No, they cannot. So they lose the fight against Gosh. Priority went to the warg riders, and they engaged Gosh once again over here. Here they engaged on this side and charged every goblin on that flank. Over here we have some throwing spears that will throw them before they charge. The first one over here needs a 5 to hit. No, but he charges in. The next one needing 5s to hit. No, and he charges in. And the last one will charge both of them, but throw his spear at the one on the left, needing 5s. And he hits. Can he kill him on a 5? No, so he just moves into contacts. The troll then charged into Drozorg to help out Gosh. Starting over here, Sandry gets a 4, and the warg rider gets... Oh, he's charging. Yeah, but he wins either way on the 6. Sandry is knocked prone, and the warg rider needs 4s to kill him. And they get 1 4, so he is dead. This goblin will strike first and sets the bar at a 1, and that means that he will lose. What's up with those rolls? He loses on fight value though. 5s to kill. Yep, he's dead. This goblin over here sets the bar at a 1 and loses automatically. Knocked prone, and the Warg Rider needs 4s to kill him. And they get it. He's dead. In the next fight, Rark is going to shield. And he gets a 6, and the Warg Rider gets 3. Over here, Sork and a friend is setting the bar, and they get 6, and the Warg Rider, can he do it? He also gets a 6, which means the Warg Rider will win on fight value. All of the attacks is going to hit Sork, and he needs 5s to kill. 1 wound. Fate roll? No, but he has 2 fate, if I'm remembering correctly, and he saves. The troll against Drozorg, and the troll sets the bar at 6s, which means he wins the fight automatically. Going for Drozorg, the troll needs 3s to kill, and he gets a 2 and a 5, so Drozorg takes a wound. Last attack will also go on Drozorg because he has 1 fate, and that is also a wound. This means that Drozorg is dead, but his warg can still be hanging around. He will take a test, and that is failed, so this one is gone. Gosh against 2 wargs, and Gosh will be shielding, and he gets a 6, and the wargs get also 6, so they will win on fight value. The wargs will need 5s to wound, and they get 1 5, so Gosh takes 1 wound, but he has 2, so only 1 wound left. Alright, so this is the state of the match. Gosh has no fate left and only 1 wound, and the Warg Riders have 8 models left on the board. If the Moria Goblins are able to kill 2 more models, then they will be victorious. The Warg Riders in turn will have to dispose of Gosh, but he is protected by this troll. So anything can happen. Stay tuned, we will see what will happen next now. Priority this turn went to the Warg Riders. Sork is using his points of might to call a heroic move. This is in turn countered by Arset, which also wishes to call a heroic move. 4 to 6 it goes to the Warg Riders. It goes to the Goblins. All the goblins except for the troll, which is not a goblin, I know, but he was not in range of the heroic move of Sork. So every goblin moved into combat except for the troll. This warg moved in closer to be able to engage Gosh and the troll next turn. Over here, the Warg Rider charged into the goblins on all fronts. In the fight phase, let's start over here with the goblin, and he sets the bar at a 4, and the charging Warg Rider gets a 3, and the last Warg Rider gets a 5, winning the fight. The goblin is knocked prone, and the Warg Riders need 4s to kill him, and they get a 6, so he is dead. In this next fight, Rark is fighting a Warg Rider, and Rark sets the bar at a 2, and the Warg Rider gets a 4, needing 5s to wound Rark, and he gets a 1. In this next fight, Arset is fighting a goblin, and the goblin will be shielding, and he sets the bar at a 5, and Arset gets 6. Goblin is knocked prone, and Arset needs 5s to kill him, and he gets 3 of them, so this goblin is dead. This fight, Sork sets the bar with his 2 attacks, and he gets a 5, and the Warg Rider gets a 4, which means Sork wins the fight. He needs 5s to kill, and he gets 1 5. Asgard has 1 fate point, and he will use that now, needing a 4 up. No, he fails. Asgard is dead. Will the warg stay on the board? No, it flees. 1 kill for the goblins. In the next fight, the troll is fighting a warg, and the troll gets a 6, winning the fight automatically, needing 2 or more to kill the warg, and he gets 2 wounds, and the warg is dead. The state of the battle is now that the Moria Goblins have won, but there is 1 warg left who can kill Gosh, and if he does, it will be a draw. Gosh will be shielding and he gets a 3. And the Warg gets a 4, winning the fight. Now the game comes down to this. If the Warg gets a 5 up to wound Gosh, they will draw the fight. If not, the Moria Goblins will win. Let's see what happens. And it's a 1. He could not kill Gosh and the Moria Goblins wins this scenario. And now for the war aftermath. Let's start with the Army of the Dead. Let's do injuries for the heroes first, starting with the ghoul to the left here. He gets an 8 and is totally recovered. Caspar held out to the bitter end, but he died eventually and has to roll on the injury chart. And he gets a 9, which is just a scratch. He will not tempt the fates and keep this roll, so he have to miss the next game. Archer is next and he gets a 9, which is just a scratch. He has no prior injuries, so he will roll again. And he gets an 8, which is full recovery. Galad, the army leader, is next and he gets a 7, full recovery. On to the warriors, starting from the left, they get a full recovery and the next one gets full recovery and the third one full recovery and next to last he has to sit the next game out and the last one gets a full recovery. These 3 warriors of the dead have enough experience to roll for promotion. Let's start with the left one. He needs a 6 to become a hero. And he is not. And the next one? No. And the last one? No. And lastly, the Dead of Dunharrow will roll for reinforcements using 3 influence points and they get a 4, which is a warrior of the dead with spear. Using their last influence point to make that into a 5. That means that they get a warrior of the dead with spear and shield. And the aftermath for the dwarves. Let's start with the injury rolls. These 4 are all heroes. Starting from the left, the shield gets a full recovery. And the foe spear gets injured and have to sit the next battle out. And the next foe spear is also injured. And the last dwarf is totally fine. Gando and Kaza are getting some upgrades because they both leveled up. Gando on the path of the general rolls and he gets an 8. And that is attack or wound, so he will choose attack. So he has now 2 attacks. Kaza is next and he has the path of the warrior. And he gets a 3. And that is Hero Slayer. This hero gains a bonus of +1 when rolling to wound against hero models. Gando slugs have 5 influence points, but they are 15 models and cannot recruit any more dwarves. So they will use 3 influence points to buy healing herbs. And that is, the hero may elect to use healing herbs at the end of any game if they are not removed as a casualty. If they do this, remove the healing herbs from the equipment. Every model in the hero model's battle company adds +1 to the injury rolls. So that can be very useful. Gando will take this. Aftermath for the Moria Goblins. Let's start with injuries. Zandri is a hero and will roll on the hero injury table. And he gets a 4. That is an arm wound and he cannot no longer use a 2-handed weapon. Next we have the regular warriors, starting from the left. He is fully recovered. The next one, the bowman, fully recovered. And the one with the shield, fully recovered. One more with bow. He is injured and has to sit the next game out. The next bowman is fine and the black shield is fine. No one got promoted this game, but the goblins have 9 influence points to spend, so they will be recruiting heavily. Starting with the first roll, they get a 2. They will actually use 3 influence points to turn that into a 5, and then they will get 2 Moria goblins with choice of weapon, choosing 2 spearmen. They now have 3 influence points to go and rolls again, getting a 5, which is 2 goblin warriors with choice of weapon. Choosing 1 with shield and 1 with spear. And here are the new recruits for the goblins. Lastly, we have the Warg Riders. Let's start with injury rolls to the heroes. Drosorg gets a 5. Bad news for Drosorg. That is a leg wound and he already has one. So he is permanently or dead. He is retired at least. Snuggug is up next and he gets an 8, which is a full recovery. And Asgard, he gets a 7, full recovery. Now it's the rest of the warriors. We start with this Warg and it gets 5, so he missed us next game. The next Warg Rider gets a 6, which is a full recovery. The next one, 7, full recovery. And the third one, 6, full recovery. Next one, full recovery. And the last one, full recovery. Asgard was promoted and got to choose a path. With the late Drosorg dead, he will take on the mantle as the new general and will roll on the path of the general table. And he gets 6. That is fight value by 1, so he is now up to fight 4. These Warg Riders can be promoted to a hero on a roll of a 6, starting from the left. Nope. And the next one. Nope. And the last one. No. The Warg Riders have 5 influence points and will use 3 of them to reinforce their numbers. And they get a 4, which is Warg Rider with Orc Bow. They will use 2 influence points to turn that into a 6, gaining another Warg Rider with Shield.
This is the updated scoreboard. This is it for now. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more exciting content like this. By subscribing, you'll stay up to date with our latest videos and be a part of our growing community. We appreciate your support and it encourages us to create more valuable content. So go ahead, hit the like and subscribe buttons and we'll see you in the next video.